Rowdy Piper was honestly possibly the most craziest cartoon character in wrestling I've ever seen. This is not an insult. Like back then, it made sense for him to act more like a comic book villain, since WWE was more cartoon based. It was more comic-y. Whereas now, I don't know if that gimmick would still work, but moving on from that. Hello, this is Neo Reality Entertainment. I wanted to go ahead and give my thoughts about Rowdy Piper, who had just recently, a few days ago at the time of this video, passed away unexpectedly. Rowdy Piper, I will never forget watching this video on YouTube where I saw him hit Jimmy Snuka in the head with a coconut, and I was like, that is so over the top funny, but it's the 80s, I'll give it a pass. Like, if that was now, I would have just said, oh my god, really? They just did something that cheesy? But I understood why back then, because it was the 80s, and it was more cartoon-based, and that made sense to me. If they did it now, I don't know if I could like it, but it was like, but when I first saw it, I was like, yeah, this guy's funny, like, this guy's entertaining, and he would always scream on the mic, say everything he wanted to say that was on his mind. He was like, and I'm comparing him to CM Punk when he says he's not afraid to speak his mind, say things that make people mad, do things that would make people mad, and make him get hated. And boy, before WrestleMania 1, he was arguably the most hated guy in the WWE at that time, beating up celebrities, attacking Hulk Hogan, Hulkamania, and his fans. Like, Jim Ross said best, he was the perfect villain of that era, and, like, I don't know how anyone else could top it. Like, yeah, there's Ted DiBiase, who represents the 1% whatnot gimmick, but Rowdy Piper was pretty much someone, like, let's see, if I was to find the best way to describe Rowdy Piper, it would pretty much be his name, Rowdy. He would always say what he wanted to say, he would do whatever he wanted, and here's the ironic thing about this, like, I was watching an old WCW video on the WWE Network about Rowdy Piper, showing him debating in WCW back in 1996 after Hulk Hogan beat Randy Savage, and I saw him cut this promo about how he's just as big as Hogan, and the show ended so abruptly, and it felt like the news just resembled that. It just happened so abruptly and was really unexpected, and like, I never got a chance to grow up during the Monday Night Wars. I was born 1 year prior, but moving on from that, like, it was unexpected to hear what happened to Rowdy Piper. And the other memorable thing, I was at the tip of my tongue. What was it? It wasn't last year when he made his appearance at WrestleMania. About a week before WrestleMania, he had all these guys coming in, and they did this Andre the Giant Memorial Impromptu Battle Royal to give us a preview. He couldn't control the situation. Like, I saw Rowdy Piper. I never got a chance to see him wrestle when I was younger, because I was still young. I didn't really watch wrestling that much. I was on hiatus for a long period of time from wrestling when Stone Cold and The Rock were leaving and never to be seen again in wrestling. So I never saw Rowdy Piper's matches with Hulk Hogan, so I have no opinion on that. From what I heard, he was working with no contract. I think they say he was not getting paid at that time. Like, he was working with no contract. He was just doing this pretty much out of, okay, I'll do it. And yeah, I rewatched the Hulk Hogan Vince McMahon match when he returned, and the roof was exploding with cheers. Like, it's Rowdy Piper. After 19 years, he's finally back home. Well, not really 19 years. Like, I think his last WrestleMania appearance was WrestleMania 12, so it was really 7 years. But Like, and I did watch Goldust versus Rowdy Piper in their chaotic Hollywood brawl. Like, that was awesome. Like, yeah, that's like Rowdy Piper knows how to adapt with times and whatnot. See how the different eras were going. Like, everything back then was comic book based. Then all of a sudden, it started getting gritty and realistic, and then it really went realistic to brutality in terms of how characters were supposed to act, unlike John Cena, who's still stuck in the 80s. But moving on from him, like, I simply enjoy Rowdy Piper. I've certainly enjoyed some of his matches. Like, he didn't have the greatest matches. I recall watching Bret Hart versus him on the WWE Network, best technical match, and very bloody match, because it was said Bret Hart wasn't fine for that, but I think Rowdy Piper was. I didn't read that report from. It's been a while since I last saw that report, but it was a bloody technical masterpiece match for the Intercontinental title, the only belt Rowdy Piper ever held. And I was wondering, how many world titles had that guy had? None? You gotta be kidding me. Of course he had a world title reign. He didn't? My God, that would have been awesome. That's one of, like, I keep hearing all these other legends that, okay, how many world title reigns did they get? Because I cannot picture them ever winning a world title, like Mr. Perfect, Jake the Snake Roberts, like, they never won world titles in WWE? No, that's impossible. Really? My God, they would have been perfect for world champion in WWE. Rowdy Piper, rest in peace. Thank you for the memories you've given us throughout your entire career, and the hilarity you had on Legends House. Like, that was when I really watched Rowdy Piper, to be honest. Like, he was hilarious on that, especially the commercial ad they made, the bad commercial they made, and like, that was hilarious. Oh man, that was funny. Thank you, Rowdy Piper, for the memories. Rest in peace. This was Neo Reality Entertainment. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and donate, and stay tuned for more.